Hello, my name is Hannah Norris, and this is my persuasive speech over substance abuse. So basically, the speech is going to be about side effects, how it can hinder your family and friends, and how it overall hinders you. So first off, substance abuse is something that anyone can struggle with, and it can be a number of things. Now, maybe you grew up in a family of drinkers. You have a 50% chance of being an alcoholic and about a 50% chance of never touching a bottle or, not drinking very often. So friends and family struggle a lot with it, and that's one thing that the user is kind of blindsided by, that they don't really see how they're hurting everybody else. They can only see what they want, what they need, and basically, family can get hurt, say as the user gets too drunk one night and they say hurtful things. Maybe they cause harm, physically, and that's something that they might feel guilty about later on. Guilt is a big part of substance abuse. The user feels bad for even doing it in the first place, and now they can't stop. So when they relapse, they feel guilty for the family, they feel guilty about themselves, and it's a whole lot of self-pity involved with it. Family's supposed to stick by you, and they're trying to help you the best that they can, and sometimes family does have to take a step back because, when a user starts running out of money, they go to family for money, hoping that they can buy, more drugs, more alcohol, more tobacco products, whatever it might be. And whenever family ends up saying no, I'm not going to do it anymore, there's a good chance that they will start stealing from you or finding other ways to do it. And then they end up with debt. And then when debt happens, they go to their family because they need help getting out of that debt. Or maybe that person that they got a loan from is threatening them violently, maybe physically. That can happen a lot of times. Now, we talked about the family, and now this is kind of what happens for family members. At some point, family has to stop it. They just have to, stop being an enabler, and a lot of time family members are the number one enablers in this. And another big fact is family doesn't always realize it. It's kind of hard to realize when you're being an enabler, but whenever you just brush it off oh, they've been doing it, they're not going to get better, it's just time that I just stop worrying about it. Maybe you go out and you buy them something, or you feel bad for them, so you try and help them, and it ends up, getting worse. And so family has to take that step back, and even though they won't want to, sometimes that's what you got to do to help that person. And sometimes even that person is so far gone that they can't get help anymore, and there's a chance that they might die from it, and that's a big part of it. Doing these things can lead to a million different things. It can lead to seizures, throwing up, diarrhea. You can have skin rashes. You can get cancer. There are a million different things. You could overdose off of pills. It really doesn't matter. There's just so much that you have to take into consideration if you're a user, and a lot of the time the users don't see that until it's too late. Now, some signs of addiction would be, being tired all the time. They might have insomnia, and they might express to you how they haven't been getting good sleep. It might be mood changes, memory issues, issues concentrating, and so on. There are so many different things that you have to look for, and sometimes it's difficult to see all those things because a lot of people go through it without even being users. I'm tired a lot, and I'm not a big user either. So obviously it can't always mean that. You just have to pay attention. Now, sometimes people will wait too long to get help because sometimes they don't realize that they need it, And so that's when it can lead to like worse things like cancer and stuff like that. And hopefully that user can get the help that they need and get healthy again. But I mean, the side effects aren't always medical. Like, you can lose your whole family, and that's not a medical issue. You could lose friends, you could lose yourself, and losing yourself is like, it makes it really difficult to, get back, and there's a chance that you might never know who that person was again. And a lot of times you get to the point where you think that you need it and you don't want it anymore. When it gets to that point, you need to realize that you need to get help, because you're so far gone that, I mean, who knows what could happen at that point. Now, here are some items that could be what's being used. Now, this is a tobacco product. It's a Vuse, alcohol, and then weed. Now, obviously, I'm not going to bring the real thing, so you're stuck with that. Now, my point of view of the whole thing. I used to use my antidepressants. I would take 20 to 40 of them, and I should have overdosed. I should have been put in the hospital. I never did, and I think that's the reason why I kept going. I smoked a lot. I drank very little because my dad is an abusive alcoholic, but over time I realized what was important to me. I want my future to be full. I want to live. I want to be a better person. So I decided that I was done and I wasn't going to do it anymore. And that can be a very tough decision to make, but I am so thankful that I did decide to do that, because there's a chance that I couldn't have been here today, and I'm glad that I changed my mindset and I stopped looking at every bad thing, and I started thinking about ways that I could help myself. And some coping skills, some good ones, would be, reading, walking. Fresh air always helps. You have to stop thinking about what you want to do, like weed, like wanting to smoke weed, wanting to drink, and all that stuff. And you just gotta focus on yourself, and you gotta realize, what your values in life are. And if you have problems with friends or families that have, the issues like these, what you should do is you should call somebody, you should try and talk to them, find out what's really going on, because not always is it just because they wanted to do it. Sometimes they're trying to cope with it, and it's definitely not a good coping skill. In conclusion, anyone can be a victim, and you never really know, so keep your eye out and try and help anyone that you can. And before you do it, drink or smoke or any of that for the first time, think about what your life might look like after you do it, and think about all the possibilities. Thank you for listening to my speech. Does anyone have questions or comments?
No.